there are 4 ways that the Diamondbacks can make the
Four.
postseason.
4.
Yeah, 4. And
That's impossible.
They can still clinch a postseason spot here at Chase Field tomorrow. But that would require the absolute best case scenario for the Diamondbacks to clinch a postseason spot here tomorrow and not have to worry about the doubleheader. They would have to win here today, and they would need both the New York Mets and the Atlanta Braves to lose their games on Sunday. So that is one.
But if that happens, the Diamondbacks clinch their spot.
They clinch their spot, and I guess they might still be watching on Monday to figure out who they're playing or whatnot. But yeah, the Monday games would just be the Braves and Mets duking it out, fighting for their lives at that point. So yeah, mathematically, that's the way that this works, which is, yeah, it feels crazy with how the Diamondbacks have played lately, but they do still have a legitimate shot here. The other options here all require this to go into Monday. D-backs would be relying on certain outcomes in that doubleheader. So one scenario is the Diamondbacks win their game here tomorrow, and then the Braves just lose out. Braves lose tomorrow to the Royals and then lose both games to the Mets on Monday. This one does not feel very likely to me, Derek, given the way that the Braves have played and also the way that the Mets have played. But it is theoretically possible, I suppose. So that's another option. The D-backs could also win tomorrow and then get in via the Mets. So win tomorrow and have the Mets lose 2 out of their next 3 games. So the Mets don't have to lose out. But if the Mets just lose 2 out of 3 and the D-backs win tomorrow, then the D-backs would clinch on Monday. And then the last scenario is that the Diamondbacks lose tomorrow. And believe it or not, Derek, there is a path for the Diamondbacks to make the postseason, getting swept in the San Diego Padres series. And the only way that can happen is if the New York Mets do not win another game the rest of the season. So if the Mets lose all 3 of their remaining games, the Diamondbacks at that point would make the postseason over them. I wrote an article about this morning. We've talked about it a little on the show. The Monday doubleheader is kind of rigged against them in any scenario. And it certainly would be there, right? This is a scenario where the Braves have nothing to play for on Monday and the D-backs need the Braves to sweep both games. It doesn't seem likely. But as we've said a few times on this show, Derek, the Mets are the Mets. And if any team was going to do something like that, somehow it feels like it would be them. So yeah, the D-backs are not dead yet, but they are in a very, very difficult position. They need a whole lot of help as I'm described there in all those different scenarios.
You're giving people far too much hope. You're giving people far too much hope. And after they back their way into the playoffs like this, they're totally going all the way back to the World Series, Jesse. That's totally what's going to happen.
Yeah, I was talking about that with some people in the press box, like just remembering what it felt like last year when they clinched and how the vibes were so low at that point. They lost 4 out of 6. They lost 6 out of 9. It looked like they couldn't really score runs anymore. You know, Zach Gallen had been pretty hit or miss in the month of September. They were going to have Brandon Pfaadt start the first game of the postseason, which was not an ideal scenario just because they needed both Zach and Merrill to pitch in the final weekend. So the vibes were not good last year at this time, and the Diamondbacks were able to find their way into the World Series about a month later. So as far-fetched as that feels right now, Derek, I am reminded of what happened last year and know that just given the nature of this sport, anything can happen if you get into October. D-backs have a serious uphill battle to get there, but as we just outlined, it is not impossible.
We all silly like the mayor.